Hi, I'm Mike Baker. This is National Arts, and we are on Broadway. The Lion King was the 1998 Tony winner for Best New Musical. Based on the Disney full-length feature of the same name, The Lion King, the stage version, was largely the vision of Tony Award-winning director Julie Taymor. Wrapped in a lush African savanna on stage, all the Disney characters come to life through an ingenious blend of humanity and puppetry in the legendary return of the prodigal son. Sidi, the role of Rafiki is beautifully crafted. You're a spiritualist, you're a soothsayer, and you're part of the womb of life.
Isn't that splendid? Now I wish I could be able to say I take the same vein and bring it to my own life. But that's the joy of it. It really is. It's a learning experience through a role each evening. Each evening you go through it. You go through the whole semblance and the whole journey of that role being the guiding light to someone else. But so can that also be the experience of the individual within the role. So one selfishly steals some moments in order to make it completely relevant and keep the commitment and focus going at all times, because one believes in the magic of that particular role, and I really do.
When you speak of a circle of life, you are at the core of it. We see the baby Simba in the womb of your tree.
Yes, very much so. But it's not just as an individual character in that particular. Absolutely, as a force that brings together all forces on earth, or in that particular kingdom. And it's a wonderful center. But the kind of center that's not irrelevant also. It's very much a part of the pulse of the story of the show, the story from beginning to end. It's the thread from beginning to end.
The cadences and rhythms give this musical a very, very unique identity.
Absolutely. And rhythms not only, again, from just the point of view of movement, but also the rhythm of the piece, the rhythm of the actual storytelling, the rhythm of, rhythm beyond what we may understand rhythm as percussive elements, but also there's a lot of implied rhythm on many layers.
And the production really does almost pulse with authentic South African passion, doesn't it?
Yes, yes, I think about 10 of us. About 10 of us are from South Africa. And it's really wonderful how the combination of having the numerous cultural experiences that we are coming from and the different perspectives and working on the creative venture that this is and making it into such a oneness. Again, we attribute that to so many of the fantastic creative forces who have been a part of shaping this, and being able to envision it so beautifully. That isn't something that one should take for granted, that it would have such wonderful results, but we really have a special thing there.
I don't ever remember a time when a whole African savanna was created on stage, but The Lion King has done that, hasn't it?
It has certainly done that.
Animals, grasses, everything.
The works that it takes me back home every time, But that's also special. Actually, our Richard Hudson, our set designer, was born in Zimbabwe. So his childhood has seen some of the, that beauty of the scenery, and it's not a matter of having looked at a book to be able to recreate something so truthfully and so beautifully, and to be able to really harness those things that make a particular landscape unique in itself, and he has done such a splendid job.
You contributed one of the chants.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I wrote that particular piece not having anything of this sort in mind. In fact, I just had heard a beautiful lullaby sung by Miriam Makeba on her album Sangoma, which actually means spiritual healer. That would actually be the role of Rafiki, yes, somewhat where the role of Rafiki has borrowed from is from the presence of a spiritual healer in Southern African culture. Her album was called Sangoma. It had all these songs that different Sangomas would be singing. There was a particular ballad about a mother's loss of a child that I loved so much, called Milele. So I listened to this and I used to think, you know, I'd just be thinking, I would love to sing this song. I don't know how, when, how. And I just thought, I would like to arrange it in such a way as to have a part of it that is from, if I had a child, would I be so gentle about it? No, there'd also be that anger that would be there. I go, why did this have to happen? I mean, normally the parent is supposed to go before the child. True. So there's this call and this cry and this passion. Mario, you're calling to what's up there anyway, for anything, the supernatural forces. Why did this have to happen? Before you come to your senses and realize, you know, it's the pulse of life. It was a great honor to have the opportunity to have a home and context, and more so in such a particular production. But even that came by pure mistake, because it's something that I had written about 3 years prior to even hearing of The Lion King. And I was still in college at that time. But that's how that particular part of it was born. And I feel particularly close to the message of it each evening, which also helps me in terms of the relevance of the whole story, because through it, I also travel. I travel through many experiences that one has been through in South Africa, through those moments where, due to nonsensical violence or situations and things that I have known and grown up amidst, and have been very close in experience to, things that make that particular journey, that short moment in time within the show, not only relevant to that particular piece, but it's also a memory for me.
Jason, how did you come to be in this show?
10 auditions, something like that.
Really?
A lot of callbacks. It was amazing in New York, actually, when the word came out that Disney was going to do Lion King. That buzz goes through the community. Everyone's excited. Okay, what's it going to be like? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be weird? And no one knows, but you certainly have everyone talking about it. So then the breakdowns start coming out in the papers, and I saw the breakdown backstage. You're a hungry actor reading those things every week. And when I saw the description, I said, okay, there's a possibility, you know. There's a possibility that there's a role in there that's right, and I went for it. I went to an open call, and those were some of the greatest auditions of my life. The experience I'm talking about, not just the quality of the audition, the experience of actually being in the room with those people, getting the sense of Julie Taymor and of Garth Fagan, and working with Binder Casting, Jay Binder and Mark Brandon, and actually then meeting the magicians, if you will, behind Disney animation, Peter Schneider and Tom Schumacher, two amazing gentlemen. I actually got to fly to LA and meet them there in their throne room, which was the animation building. And that experience kind of blew me away, and through all of that process, I got involved with the show. Thank goodness.
And you got a great role.
Oh yeah.
Simba.
Oh, yeah.
There's some great lessons in this for children as well as adults. The whole notion of listening to your parents and not venturing out on your own, because it can be dangerous, especially in the jungle, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Right, which is explored, and it's kind of left, you know, if you want to think about it, you can. So the work, I think, is amazing in that sense, Lion King as a piece, because if you don't want to go in and be very overly thoughtful and speculative about the project, you don't need to. You can go in and have a great time. If you're there and you start becoming inspired by what you're listening to and you want to delve deeper, you can go on and on and on.
Much of what we see is half human and half animal. It's beautifully crafted.
Yeah.
And you are half human and half animal.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you liken it to your daily activity. When you're walking around, you start to get angry, you start to get a little bit animated. And out of that comes a lot of physicality. Some people gesticulate a lot. And it was that process that was so fascinating, working with Julie, just exploring where your body was going to go. If you started to say these lines and you started to think out of the box, if you will, think out of your body. Where are you going to take this action? Where are you going to take this emotion? Because particularly for Simba, he's going through some really serious emotions. And how does that get expressed? Is it that pent up? You see the tension building in the body and it releases into some kind of movement. Yes. So that process was really neat to discover the freedom of your body, if you will, into how you are going to express the duality.
You allude to the fact that they're kings in the stars and that they're looking down upon you and they are influencing your decisions. And then we see an aerial ballet when romance blossoms. Yeah. I get the feeling that that is the romance for all time, that somehow you embody the kings of past years and that it's one big cycle of life that's not just this cycle of the two of you, but it's a cycle of all the kings and the queens.
That point is really interesting because that also brings a picture that this story that's being told is one that's been lived by many, many kings before. Their fathers needed to raise the heir to the throne, and they went through the same challenges, the same confusion. This particular method may be different because Mufasa was killed, but you know, it's an interesting parallel that goes on, a larger story happening at the same time that the small one is.
I hope you enjoyed our travels from home in The Lion King and Joe DiPietro's look at how the American home has evolved. We'll see you next time on National Arts on Broadway.